When desperation meets opportunity, Jasmine Reed stood in her small art gallery, staring at the eviction notice taped to the glass door. 28 years old, fiercely independent, and about to lose everything she had built over the past 5 years. The gallery was not just a business. It was her dream, her sanctuary. The place where she helped unknown artists find their voice in a world that often ignored them. She pulled the notice down with trembling fingers, folding it carefully before sliding it into her jacket pocket. Outside, the streets of Boston were alive with evening traffic. People rushed past, buried in their phones, chasing deadlines and dreams. None of them knew that her world was crumbling. "Jazz, you cannot be serious about this." Rachel Montgomery burst through the gallery door, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Rachel had been Jasmine's best friend since college. And despite their different lifestyles, Rachel worked in corporate law while Jasmine lived for art. Their bond remained unbreakable. "I am serious, Rach. The bank rejected my loan extension. I have 30 days. Jasmine turned away from her friend, pretending to straighten a painting on the wall. The piece showed a bird breaking free from a golden cage, and the irony was not lost on her. Rachel walked closer, her voice softening. "There has to be another way. What about your parents?" Jasmine shook her head. "You know they are barely making ends meet themselves. I would never ask them for money. This is my responsibility, my failure." "Which is not failure, Jazz. The economy is tough. Small businesses everywhere are struggling." Before Jasmine could respond, the gallery door opened again. A tall man in an impeccably tailored navy suit walked in, his presence commanding immediate attention. His dark hair was styled perfectly, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass. In his eyes a striking shade of gray swept across the gallery with calculated precision. "We are closing soon," Jasmine said automatically. Not bothering to hide the exhaustion in her voice, the man ignored her comment. Walking slowly through the space, examining each painting with genuine interest. He stopped in front of the caged bird piece, tilting his head slightly. "Interesting choice," he said, his voice deep and measured. "Freedom versus security. The eternal human conflict." Jasmine exchanged a glance with Rachel, who raised her eyebrows in a silent question. Who was this man? "Can I help you find something specific?" Jasmine asked, moving closer, but maintaining her professional distance. He turned to face her, and for a moment their eyes locked. There was something unsettling about his gaze, as if he could see past all her carefully constructed walls straight into the desperation she was trying to hide. "Jasmine Reed, owner of Reed Gallery, correct?" he asked, though it was clear he already knew the answer. Her guard went up instantly. "And you are?" "Donovan Blake." He extended his hand, and she shook it reluctantly. His grip was firm, confident. Exactly what she expected from a man who carried himself like he owned the world. Rachel gasped audibly. Even Jasmine, who deliberately avoided the business section of newspapers, recognized the name. Donovan Blake was one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country. Having built a tech empire from a dorm room startup, he was regularly featured in magazines, always with a different model or socialite on his arm, and was known for his ruthless business tactics. "What brings someone like you to my gallery?" Jasmine asked, pulling her hand back and crossing her arms defensively. "Straight to the point." "I appreciate that." Donovan glanced at Rachel, then back at Jasmine. "I have a business proposition for you. A rather unusual one. Is there somewhere we can speak privately?" Rachel stepped forward protectively. "Anything you need to say to her, you can say in front of me." Donovan studied Rachel for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. Miss Reed, I need a wife." The silence that followed was deafening. Jasmine blinked, certain she had misheard. "Excuse me?" "Not a real wife, to be clear. A contractual arrangement. 1 year of marriage in exchange for complete financial security." He spoke as casually as if he were discussing a business merger, which Jasmine supposed he was. "This is insane," Rachel said immediately. "Jazz, do not listen to him." But Jasmine found herself unable to look away from Donovan. Why would you possibly need to buy a wife? The terms have surrendered. Donovan reached into his jacket and pulled out a slim folder, placing it on the nearby desk. My grandmother, Patricia Blake, controls 40% of Blake Technologies through a trust established by my late grandfather. According to the terms of that trust, I must be married by my 36th birthday, which is in exactly 3 months, or those shares transfer to the board of directors. That is archaic, Jasmine said. Though she could not help feeling a flicker of curiosity, it is also legally binding. My grandfather believed that a man without family was a man without purpose. He wanted to ensure I did not spend my life alone, buried in work. Donovan's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Was it pain? Resentment? So marry someone for real, Rachel interjected. You are rich, powerful, probably have women throwing themselves at you daily. I do, Donovan acknowledged without arrogance, simply stating a fact. But none of them want me. They want my money, my status, my connections. I prefer honesty in my transactions. A contract is clear. Expectations are defined. There is no pretense of love or emotional attachment. Jasmine felt a strange pang in her chest at his words. What kind of life had this man led to be so cynical about human connection? Why me? She asked quietly. For the first time, Donovan's expression softened slightly. I have had you investigated. You are financially desperate, but morally sound. You have no criminal record, no scandals, no hidden agendas. You value independence and honesty. And most importantly, you need help as much as I do. The truth of his words stung. Jasmine looked at Rachel, whose face was a mixture of concern and disbelief. What exactly would this arrangement entail? Jasmine heard herself ask. Even as part of her screamed that this was madness, Donovan opened the folder, revealing a thick contract. We marry in a private ceremony. You move into my penthouse to maintain appearances. We attend social functions together, present ourselves as a believable couple to my family and the board. In exchange, I pay off all your debts immediately, provide you with a monthly allowance. And at the end of 1 year, we divorce quietly. You keep everything, including a settlement of $5 million. $5 million, Rachel whispered. Jasmine's mind raced. $5 million. She could save her gallery, help her parents retire comfortably, establish a foundation for struggling artists, everything she had ever dreamed of doing. All for 1 year of playing pretend with a man who saw relationships as business transactions. There must be other conditions, Jasmine said, flipping through the contract. The legal language was dense, but certain phrases jumped out at her. No romantic involvement with other people during the marriage, Donovan stated. We must maintain the illusion of a genuine relationship. You will attend family dinners, company events, charity galas. We will share living quarters but can maintain separate bedrooms. No media interviews without prior approval. Complete discretion about the nature of our arrangement. And what about actual marriage things? Jasmine felt her cheeks flush. Physical expectations? None, Donovan said firmly. This is a business arrangement. I have no intention of complicating it with physical intimacy. We will need to show appropriate affection in public holding hands, perhaps a kiss for photographs, but nothing beyond what is necessary for appearances. Rachel grabbed Jasmine's arm. Can we have a moment alone? Donovan nodded and walked to the far side of the gallery, giving them space. Jazz, this is crazy, Rachel hissed. You cannot marry a complete stranger, contract or not. He's offering me a way out, wretch. A way to save everything. At what cost? Your freedom? Your chance at real love? What if you meet someone during this year? Jasmine glanced at Donovan, who stood studying another painting with his hands clasped behind his back. What chance do I have at love if I lose everything I have worked for? What kind of partner would I be when I am drowning in debt and stress? So you are actually considering this? I do not know. Maybe. Probably. It is 1 year, Rachel. 1 year of my life in exchange for freedom from all of this financial stress. When else will an opportunity like this come along? Rachel sighed, recognizing the determination in her friend's eyes. If you do this, I am reviewing that contract word by word. And if he hurts you in any way, billionaire or not, I will destroy him. Jasmine managed a weak smile. Deal. She walked back to Donovan, her heart pounding so hard she was certain he could hear it. I need time to review the contract with my attorney. Of course. You have 48 hours. After that, I will need to explore other options. Donovan handed her a business card with his private number. I understand this is unconventional, Miss Reed, but I assure you I am a man of my word. Sign that contract and your financial troubles end immediately. As he turned to leave, Jasmine called out, Why does this feel more like a prison sentence than a solution? Donovan paused at the door, looking back at her with an unreadable expression. Perhaps because you value freedom above all else. But sometimes, Miss Reed, the only way to truly be free is to accept help, even from unexpected sources. After he left, Jasmine sank into the chair behind her desk, the contract heavy in her hands. The caged bird painting seemed to mock her from across the room. What am I doing? She whispered. Rachel sat beside her, taking her hand. Whatever you decide, I am here. But Jazz, if you do this, do not lose yourself in the process. Promise me. Jasmine nodded, but even as she made the promise, she wondered if it was one she could keep. Moving into a gilded cage. Penthouse occupied the entire top floor of the Blake Tower, overlooking the Charles River with floor-to-ceiling windows that made Jasmine feel like she was floating above the city. Everything was pristine, modern, and utterly impersonal. White marble floors, designer furniture that looked too perfect to sit on, and not a single photograph or personal item in sight. It was beautiful and cold, much like the man who owned it. Your room is down this hall, Donovan said, leading her past a gourmet kitchen she doubted he ever used. I have had your belongings moved from your apartment. If anything is missing or damaged, let me know. Jasmine followed him, rolling her single suitcase behind her. Everything else she owned was already here, organized by a team of people she had never met. The efficiency of it all made her feel like a chess piece being moved into position. The bedroom he showed her was larger than her entire previous apartment. A king-sized bed dominated the space, dressed in crisp white linens. A walk-in closet already contained her clothes, hung and organized by color. Through another door, she glimpsed a marble bathroom with a soaking tub that could fit 3 people. This is too much, Jasmine said, feeling overwhelmed. It is yours for the next year. Make yourself comfortable. Donovan checked his watch, a habit she had already noticed he did constantly. We have dinner with my grandmother tomorrow night at 7. Dress formally. She will want to meet you before we make any public announcements. Wait. Jasmine set down her suitcase. Should not we talk about how we supposedly met? Get our story straight? Couples know things about each other. Donovan paused, clearly not having considered this detail. What do you suggest? I suggest we spend some time actually talking, learning basic facts about each other. Otherwise, nobody will believe this. Jasmine walked to the window, looking out at the city lights beginning to sparkle in the dusk. What is your favorite color? Your favorite food? Do you have any siblings? What do you do for fun? The silence stretched so long that Jasmine turned around. Donovan stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable for the first time since she had met him. I do not have time for fun, he said finally. Everyone has time for something they enjoy. There must be one thing you do that is not work-related. He considered this. I run. Every morning 6 miles along the river. Okay, that is a start. Jasmine sat on the edge of the bed. My favorite color is turquoise. I am terrified of spiders, but love snakes. I have one younger brother named Kyle who teaches high school English in Seattle. I eat cereal for dinner at least twice a week because I am terrible at cooking. And I secretly love terrible reality television shows. The trashier, the better. Despite himself, Donovan almost smiled. Reality television. Do not judge me. After a long day, sometimes you need to watch other people's drama instead of living your own. Your turn. Tell me something real. Donovan remained standing, but his posture relaxed slightly. Blue. My favorite color is blue, specifically the color of the ocean in Maine, where my grandfather had a beach house. No siblings. My parents died in a car accident when I was 19, and I suppose if I had to choose something I enjoy beyond running, it would be piano. I have not played in years, but I used to compose music. The vulnerability in that admission surprised Jasmine. Why did you stop? No time. Building a company requires complete dedication. Or maybe you were afraid of feeling something, Jasmine said softly. Donovan's eyes sharpened. Do not try to psychoanalyze me, Miss Reed. We have a business arrangement, not a therapy session. It is Mrs. Blake now, remember? Jasmine countered. And if we are going to convince anyone this is real, you need to stop calling me Miss Reed. It is Jasmine. Or Jazz if we are being casual. Jasmine, then? Said her name carefully, as if testing how it felt. I will leave you to settle in. My room is at the other end of the hall if you need anything. After he left, Jasmine lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. What had she gotten herself into? This man was a fortress of control and distance. How were they supposed to convince anyone they were in love when he could barely have a normal conversation? The grandmother's test Patricia Blake was nothing like Jasmine expected. Instead of a stern, judgmental matriarch, she found a warm woman in her early 80s with kind eyes and a mischievous smile. She greeted them at the door of her Beacon Hill brownstone, wearing a lavender cardigan and pearl earrings. Donovan, darling. She pulled her grandson into a hug that he returned with genuine affection. This was the first real emotion Jasmine had seen from him. And this must be the young woman who finally captured your heart, grandmother. This is Jasmine Reed. Donovan placed a hand on the small of Jasmine's back, the touch sending an unexpected jolt through her. Jasmine, my grandmother, Patricia Blake. Mrs. Blake, it is wonderful to meet you. Jasmine extended her hand, but Patricia pulled her into a hug instead. None of that formal nonsense. Call me Grandmother Patricia, or just Patricia, if that is easier. She held Jasmine at arm's length, studying her with sharp eyes that missed nothing. You are even lovelier than Donovan described. Come in, come in. Dinner's almost ready. The brownstone was everything the penthouse was not. Warm, lived in, filled with family photographs and comfortable furniture that invited you to sit and stay a while. Jasmine felt herself relaxing as Patricia led them to a cozy dining room where the table was set for 3. So tell me, how did you two meet? Patricia asked once they were seated, passing Jasmine a bowl of roasted vegetables. Donovan was maddeningly vague on the phone. Jasmine and Donovan exchanged a quick glance. They had rehearsed this story during the car ride over. At a charity auction, Donovan said smoothly, 3 months ago, Jasmine was there representing her gallery. Donovan bid an obscene amount of money on a painting I had recommended. Jasmine continued, finding her rhythm. I told him he overpaid. He said it was worth it to meet me. Patricia laughed delightedly. How romantic, and refreshingly honest. I like a woman who speaks her mind. She turned to Donovan. You could use more honesty in your life, dear. Something passed between grandmother and grandson, a silent communication that Jasmine could not quite read. What kind of art does your gallery feature? Patricia asked, turning back to Jasmine. For the first time since arriving at the penthouse, Jasmine felt on solid ground. She spoke passionately about the emerging artists she represented, the importance of giving voice to overlooked talent. Her vision for making art accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy elite. Patricia listened intently, asking thoughtful questions. Donovan remained mostly quiet, but Jasmine noticed him watching her with an expression she could not quite identify. Was it surprise? Interest? You have real fire in you, Patricia said, raising her wine glass. I can see why Donovan fell for you. He needs someone who challenges him, who has their own dreams and passions. Too many people in his world just want to bask in his success. Grandmother, Donovan said, a warning in his tone. Hush. I am allowed to embarrass you. It is in the grandmother job description. Patricia reached across the table and took Jasmine's hand. I am so glad he found you, dear. I was beginning to worry he would work himself to death, alone in that sterile apartment of his. Guilt twisted in Jasmine's stomach. This sweet woman genuinely cared about her grandson's happiness. What would she think if she knew the truth? As if reading her thoughts, Patricia squeezed her hand. Love is a funny thing. It finds us when we least expect it, in the most unusual circumstances. What matters is not how it begins, but what you choose to do with it. The knowing look in Patricia's eyes made Jasmine wonder if the old woman suspected something. But she simply smiled and changed the subject, asking about wedding plans. When pretend feels real, the next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. There were engagement photos to take, announcements to make, and a steady stream of social obligations. Jasmine found herself playing the role of devoted fiancé at board dinners, charity galas, and family gatherings. What surprised her most was how naturally it all began to feel. Donovan was an attentive partner in public, always keeping a protective hand at her back, pulling out her chair, listening intently when she spoke. She told herself it was all part of the act. But sometimes she caught him looking at her when he thought she was not paying attention, and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. They fell into an unexpected rhythm at the penthouse. Mornings, she would wake to find him already gone on his run. She started joining him, matching his pace along the river as the sun rose over the city. They did not talk much during these runs, but the shared silence felt comfortable. COMPANIONABLE. They would often find themselves in the living room, Jasmine sketching design ideas for her gallery's expansion while Donovan worked on his laptop. Sometimes she would catch him watching her instead of his screen. "What?" she asked one evening, setting down her pencil. "You bite your lower lip when you are concentrating," he said. "I just noticed. You've noticed a lot of things about me lately." Donovan closed his laptop, giving her his full attention. "We are supposed to be convincing people we are in love. I need to know your habits, your mannerisms, the performance." Jasmine set aside her sketchbook. "Speaking of which, Rachel wants to throw us an engagement party. I told her it was not necessary, but she insists. Let her. It will add authenticity to our story." He paused. "Your friend does not like me very much. Can you blame her? She thinks I am making a mistake. Are you?" The question hung in the air between them. Before Jasmine could answer, Donovan's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his expression darkened. "I need to take this." "Excuse me?" He disappeared into his office, and Jasmine heard his voice rise in anger. Something about Trevor Ashford and hostile takeover attempts? She had learned that Trevor Ashford was Donovan's main business rival, constantly looking for ways to undermine Blake Technologies. When Donovan emerged 30 minutes later, his jaw was tight with stress. "Everything okay?" Jasmine asked. "Fine, just business." He poured himself a scotch, downing it in one swallow. Jasmine stood and walked over to him. "You know, for someone who runs a tech empire, you are terrible at hiding your emotions." "I am not emotional. I am strategic." "You're tense and stressed and trying to carry everything alone." She reached up without thinking and loosened his tie. "You are allowed to be human, Donovan. Even billionaire CEOs have breaking points." He caught her wrist gently, his fingers warm against her skin. They stood frozen like that, barely a foot apart, the air between them charged with something neither wanted to name. "Jasmine," he said softly, and it was the first time her name on his lips sounded like something other than a business transaction. "Yes, we should not blur the lines. This arrangement works because we both know what it is. And what if the lines are already blurred?" The words escaped before she could stop them. Donovan released her wrist and stepped back. "Then we need to unblur them. This is temporary. In 10 months, we go our separate ways. Getting emotionally involved would only complicate things." "You are right." Jasmine wrapped her arms around herself. "I will go to bed. Good night." She left before he could see the hurt in her eyes. Back in her room, she pressed her palms against the cool window glass and tried to remember why she had agreed to this. The money, the security, the freedom it would buy. But somewhere along the way, those reasons had started to feel less important than the way her heart skipped when Donovan smiled. Really smiled, which he did more often now. This was dangerous territory. She was falling for a man who saw her as a temporary solution to a problem. A man who would walk away without looking back when their year was up. The kiss that changed everything. The engagement party Rachel organized was held at an upscale restaurant overlooking the harbor. Jasmine wore an emerald green dress that Rachel had insisted on buying, and Donovan arrived in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that made him look devastatingly handsome. "You look beautiful," he said when he saw her. And for once, it did not sound rehearsed. "Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself." The party was intimate, just close friends and family. Patricia was there, beaming with joy. Rachel watched them both with cautious eyes. Colleagues from Donovan's company mingled with artists from Jasmine's gallery. Two worlds colliding in unexpected harmony. "Speech," someone called out, and soon the entire room was chanting for them to speak. Donovan took Jasmine's hand and led her to the center of the room. His palm was slightly sweaty, and she realized with surprise that he was nervous. "I am not good with words," Donovan began, his voice steady despite his nerves. "I am better with numbers, with strategies, with 5-year plans." But then I met Jasmine, and suddenly all my careful planning meant nothing. She is chaos and creativity and everything I did not know I was missing. She challenges me, frustrates me, and makes me want to be more than just the sum of my achievements. Jasmine's throat tightened. He was supposed to be acting, but the raw honesty in his voice felt too real. "When I am with her," Donovan continued, his eyes locked on hers, "I remember what it feels like to be human. To want something beyond the next deal, the next acquisition. She reminds me that life is not just about building empires. It is about building connections, taking risks, allowing yourself to be vulnerable." The room had gone completely silent. Even Rachel looked moved. "So thank you, Jasmine Reed, for taking a chance on someone who did not deserve it. For seeing past the walls I built and deciding I was worth the effort." He raised his glass. "To my beautiful, infuriating, absolutely perfect fiancé." To Jasmine. The room echoed. Jasmine could barely breathe. That was not the speech they had practiced. Those were not the careful, neutral words they had agreed on. Those were real feelings, raw and unguarded. Kiss. 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 The crowd began chanting they had kissed before. Brief pecks for photographs and public appearances. But this felt different. This felt like a moment of truth. Donovan cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. "Is this okay?" he whispered, so quietly only she could hear. Jasmine nodded. Not trusting her voice, he kissed her softly at first, a gentle press of lips that sent electricity racing through her veins. But then something shifted. His hand slid into her hair, pulling her closer. Her fingers gripped his jacket. And the kiss deepened into something desperate and hungry and completely unplanned. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, the room erupted in cheers and applause. But Jasmine barely heard it. All she could focus on was the look in Donovan's eyes. Equal parts desire and terror. "We need to talk," he said urgently. "Yes, we do." But before they could escape, Patricia approached with a photographer, insisting on family pictures. Then Rachel pulled Jasmine aside for a private word. Then Donovan was drawn into a conversation with board members. The night continued in a blur, and the moment to talk never came. Later, in the car ride home, they sat in charged silence. The partition between them and the driver was up, giving them privacy. But neither spoke. "That kiss," Donovan finally said as they pulled up to the tower. "I know we crossed a line. I know. This complicates everything. I know." Jasmine turned to face him. "But Donovan, maybe it is already complicated. Maybe it has been for a while and we have both been too scared to admit it." He looked at her with such longing that her heart ached. "In 10 months, you get your freedom, your money, your fresh start. If we do this, if we make it real, everything changes. The contract becomes meaningless. What if it does not work? What if I hurt you? What if it does work?" Jasmine countered. "What if this thing between us, this connection neither of us planned for, what if it is real? Are we really going to throw it away because we are both too afraid to take a risk?" Donovan reached for her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "I have spent my entire adult life avoiding this. Emotional entanglements, vulnerability, the possibility of loss. It is easier to be alone. Easier, yes. But is it better?" Before he could answer, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and cursed softly. "It is my head of security. I need to take this." The conversation was brief, but clearly troubling. When he hung up, his expression had shuddered again, all traces of vulnerability gone. What is wrong? Trevor Ashford was at the party tonight. He is digging into our relationship, trying to find something he can use against me. Apparently, he has hired a private investigator. Jasmine's blood ran cold. He is looking for proof that our marriage is fake. Which means we need to be even more careful. No slip-ups, no cracks in the facade. Donovan released her hand. Tonight was a mistake. We let our guard down, so that is it. We just pretend nothing happened. We have to. Too much is riding on this. Climbed out of the car, not waiting for her response. Jasmine sat in the darkness of the parking garage, feeling the weight of their impossible situation crushing down on her. She was falling in love with a man who was too afraid to let himself fall back. And now they had a predator circling, waiting for them to slip up and reveal the truth. When she finally made her way up to the penthouse, Donovan's office door was closed, light spilling from underneath. She stood outside for a long moment, hand raised to knock, before letting it fall to her side. Some walls, she realized, were too high to climb, at least not alone. The question was whether Donovan would ever let her in, or if she would spend the next 10 months loving a man who refused to love her back. In her room, Jasmine caught sight of her reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at her wore an expensive dress and flawless makeup, but her eyes told the truth. She was trapped in a cage of her own making, and this time she did not know how to break free. The truth Trevor uncovered. Jasmine woke to frantic knocking on her bedroom door. Groggily, she checked her phone. 6 in the morning. Donovan never disturbed her this early. "Come in," she called, pulling on a robe. Donovan entered, already dressed in running clothes, but holding a tablet instead of his usual water bottle. His face was grim. "We have a problem." He handed her the tablet. On the screen was a gossip website headline: Blake Technologies billionaire's marriage of convenience. Sources claim rushed wedding is business deal, not love match. Jasmine's stomach dropped as she read. The article did not have concrete proof, but it was filled with suspicious details. The quick engagement, the lack of any dating history before their supposed auction meeting. Anonymous sources questioning the authenticity of their relationship. "Trevor is behind this," Donovan said, pacing her room like a caged animal. "He is trying to undermine my credibility before the board vote next month. If they believe our marriage is a sham, the trust will be invalidated. What do? We fight back. I have my lawyers preparing defamation suits. My PR team is drafting responses." He stopped pacing and looked at her directly. "But Jasmine, there is something else. Something I should have told you before." The seriousness in his tone frightened her. "What?" "The contract we signed, the one guaranteeing you $5 million after our divorce. If our marriage is legally proven to be fraudulent, you could face charges. Fraud, conspiracy, possibly even jail time. My lawyers would protect me, but you could end up taking the fall alone." The room seemed to tilt. "You knew this was a risk, and you never told me?" "I did not think we would get caught. I thought we could be more careful." "More careful?" Jasmine stood, anger flooding through her. "Donovan, you made me an accessory to fraud without fully disclosing the consequences. What else have you not told me?" He had the decency to look guilty. "I am sorry. I was desperate to secure my inheritance, and I thought I could control every variable. I was wrong. Sorry does not help me if I end up in prison." Jasmine grabbed the tablet and threw it on the bed. "I trusted you. I gave up my independence, my freedom, everything I valued, because you promised this would work. We just need to stay united, keep our story straight. Our story is a lie. We are living a lie." Tears of frustration burned her eyes. And the worst part is, somewhere along the way, I forgot that. I started to believe we could be real. Donovan reached for her, but she stepped back. "Do not touch me when all you see is a chess piece to move around your board. That is not fair. You know it is more than that now, do I? Because 5 minutes ago, you were willing to let me face legal consequences alone to protect yourself." The accusation hung between them, sharp and undeniable. "You are right," Donovan said quietly. "That was wrong. If this falls apart, I will make sure you are protected. I will take full responsibility." "Why? Because it is the decent thing to do, or because you actually care what happens to me?" "Both." He moved closer, and this time she did not retreat. "Jasmine, everything about this arrangement has been calculated except for one variable I never planned for. You, the way I feel when I am with you. The way you make me want things I gave up on years ago. I am terrified because I do not know how to do this. How to be vulnerable. How to love someone without trying to control every outcome." "Did you just say love?" Jasmine whispered. "I do not know. Maybe is that what this is?" He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated with himself. "See, I told you I am terrible at this." Despite everything, Jasmine felt her anger softening. This powerful, brilliant man was completely lost when it came to emotions. There was something endearing about his confusion. "Donovan, loving someone means trusting them with your truth. All of it. Even the messy, scary parts. Can you do that?" Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. "It is Patricia. She wants to see us. Both of us. Immediately." A grandmother's wisdom. Patricia's brownstone felt different this time. Less welcoming, more like being called to the principal's office. She greeted them at the door in a steel gray suit instead of her usual comfortable cardigans, her expression serious. "Sit," she said, gesturing to the formal living room they had never used before. "We need to have an honest conversation." Jasmine and Donovan sat on the sofa, and Patricia took the chair across from them. She folded her hands in her lap and studied them both with those sharp eyes that had seen too much to be fooled. "I've read the article," she began, "and I have received calls from several board members expressing concerns about the legitimacy of your marriage." "Grandmother." "I can explain," Donovan started, but Patricia held up her hand. "Let me speak first." She turned to Jasmine. "My dear, did my grandson offer you money to marry him?" The directness of the question shocked Jasmine into honesty. "Yes." Patricia nodded as if she had expected this answer. She looked at Donovan. "And did you pursue this arrangement solely to secure your inheritance?" "Initially, yes." "Thank you both for your honesty." Patricia stood and walked to the window, looking out at her garden. "Do you know why my husband created that trust clause?" "To force me into marriage," Donovan said bitterly. "No." Patricia turned back to them. "To force you to take a risk? Your grandfather saw himself in you, Donovan. He was brilliant, driven, and utterly alone until I came along. He built his empire, but he almost destroyed himself in the process. The trust was not about marriage. It was about making sure you had something in your life more important than work. Someone who saw you, really saw you, not just the success." She walked back and sat down, this time between them on the sofa. "When you first brought Jasmine to meet me, I knew something was off. The timing was too convenient, the story too practiced. But I also saw something else. The way you looked at each other when you thought no one was watching, the way you naturally gravitated toward each other, the small kindnesses you showed each other." Jasmine felt her throat tighten. "You knew?" "I suspected. But I also saw potential. So I waited to see what would happen. Would you go through with a loveless arrangement, or would you surprise yourselves?" Patricia took both their hands. "The question now is not whether your marriage started as a transaction. The question is, what has it become?" Donovan and Jasmine looked at each other. In his eyes, she saw fear and hope warring with each other. In hers, he saw a woman who had every right to walk away but was still sitting here, still fighting for them. "I love her," Donovan said suddenly, the words tumbling out clumsily. "I do not know when it happened or how, but I love her. And I have spent the past month trying to convince myself I do not, because I am afraid. Afraid I will fail at this like I have failed at every personal relationship in my life. Afraid she will realize I am better at acquiring companies than I am at being a partner." Jasmine felt tears spilling down her cheeks. "You beautiful idiot. You are not supposed to be perfect. You are supposed to be real. And I love you too. Even though you make terrible decisions and have the emotional intelligence of a spreadsheet sometimes, that is probably the least romantic confession of love I have ever heard, Patricia said. But she was smiling. But it is honest, and honesty is what matters. So here's what we are going to do. You are going to hold a press conference. Together, you are going to tell the truth. What? Donovan looked horrified. That would destroy everything. No, lying is what will destroy everything. Patricia squeezed their hands. Trust me. Sometimes the truth is the only weapon that works. The press conference that changed everything, the conference room at Blake Technologies was packed with journalists, board members, and photographers. Jasmine stood beside Donovan at the podium, her hand firmly clasped in his. She wore a simple navy dress, no armor of designer clothes or perfect styling. Just her authentic and terrified. Donovan cleared his throat, and the room fell silent. Thank you all for coming. My wife and I want to address the recent speculation about our relationship, and we are going to do something unusual for a press conference. We are going to tell you the complete truth. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. In the back, Jasmine spotted Trevor Ashford, a smug expression on his face. He thought he had one. 6 weeks ago, I approached Jasmine Reed with a business proposition, Donovan continued. I needed a wife to fulfill the terms of a family trust. She needed financial help to save her art gallery. We signed a contract agreeing to a 1-year marriage in exchange for monetary compensation. Our marriage started as a transaction. The room erupted in gasps and camera flashes. Jasmine saw several board members shaking their heads, exactly the reaction Trevor had wanted. However, Donovan raised his voice above the noise. Something neither of us planned for happened. We fell in love. He turned to face Jasmine fully. When I met you, I saw you as a solution to a problem, a means to an end. I was so focused on protecting my company, my legacy, that I forgot what my grandfather actually wanted for me, a life worth living. You gave me that. You challenged me, infuriated me, and made me feel things I had spent years avoiding. You reminded me that there is more to life than balance sheets and quarterly reports. Jasmine took the microphone, her hands shaking.